Good morning, all. I'm Dr. Gayathri, working as Assistant Professor of Chemistry in SNS College of Engineering. Today, we're going to see about environmental science in that ecological section. The topic is ecological succession. It is the process by which the mix of species and habitat in an area changes over time. It is the process by which mix of species and habitat in an area changes over time. To time, the species mix and habitat it differs, it varies. Gradually, these communities replace one another until a climax community. Till the climax, it replaces one another. In this time, the species are like this, and the next time, over another decade, it gradually replaces. So, until it reaches climax, it could changes. Like a mature forest is reached until a disturbance like fire occurs. It is the process by which the mix of species and habitat in an area changes over time. Over time to time, the process changes. The changing process happens until they reach the climax community. It replaces one another. The communities replace one another. So, the climax community, until the climax community reaches. Like a mature forest, like a dense forest region, like Amazon, until a disturbance like forest occurs. These are the climax community. Next, types of ecological succession. That is primary, secondary, cyclic. Primary, secondary, cyclic. In the primary, that starts in lifeless areas such as regions devoid of soil or the areas the soil is unable to sustain life. There is no life there, or the life still doesn't start there. It is called as primary succession. The secondary one, it occurs when the primary ecosystem get destroyed. It's destroying portion. So it is called as secondary one. The primary one destroys. That is the forest until the man enters into that. If the man enters it gets civilized. It changes as environment, ecosystem. So the primary one, that is the forest is destroyed. That is secondary one, that we are entering into that forest. So the forest ecosystem destroys. That is called as secondary. Next, cyclic. This is only the change in the structure of an ecosystem is called as cycle basis. Some planets remain dominant the rest of the year and emerge at once. This drastically changes the structure of an ecosystem. The cyclic, it happens through cycles, it happens through decades, it happens through years and years. It's called as cyclic. The ecological succession, for example, Acadia National Park. It is about 50,000 acres. This natural park suffered a huge wildfire. Restoration of the forest was left to nature. We left the nature has to restore. In the initial years, only small plants grew on the burnt soil. After several years, the forest showed diversity in the tree species. The trees before the fire were mostly evergreen. while the trees that grew after the fire are very deciduous in nature. That is for ecological succession. Acadia National Park is the best example. It is about 50,000 acres. It is suffered a huge wildfire. After that, we have left that park for the restoration of their own. In the initial years, only small plants have grown. But after years are going, the forest showed the diversity tree species, lot of species before. The trees before the fire were mostly evergreen, while the trees that grew after the fire were deciduous in nature. It is overcoming. It restores its own. Thank you all.